So today's event, for those who have not joined us for our breakfast with the mayors before, we have in January what we call our annual Business and Government Breakfast, and we have a fabulous, and very comprehensive report done by both Drew Irvin, the village administrator of Lake Bluff, and Jason Wisha, who is the city manager in Lake Forest. They do a wonderful overview at the start of the year that gives us an idea of what we can expect going into the year. And mid-year, what we have traditionally done is had an event where the mayors come. We get the opportunity to see, and it's actually village president and mayor, we get the opportunity to meet them, but also very importantly to get a mid-year update of how things are going. So, without any further ado, Regis Charlot has been the village president for the Village of Lake Bluff Board of Trustees since April of 2021. A successful innovator, entrepreneur, and community leader with over 30 years of experience leading organizations through growth and change, he currently leads a startup focused on retail rental operations as a service. He is committed assistant scoutmaster and treasurer for Lake Bluff Scout Troop 42, an avid Lake Bluff Yacht Club sunfish sailor, and a long-distance runner. And together with his wife, Leanne, Regis has raised daughter Emma and son Tad through the Lake Bluff schools and now Lake Forest High School. Welcome, Regis. And Mayor Stanford Tack, who we know as Randy, was sworn into office on May 1, 2023. He was elected as a 3rd Ward Alderman in 2011, serving multiple terms from 2012 to 2018. While Alderman, he served as the chair of the Public Works Committee and Fire Services Committee, and from 2021 to 22, he also served as chair of the Central Business District Working Group. Dr. Tack earned a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Illinois and attended the University of Illinois College of Medicine. He moved to Lake Forest upon completion of his fellowship at Rush Medical Center. He is founding board member of the Illinois Bone and Joint Institute, unfortunately I know it well, and was appointed vice president of the Midwest Orthopedic Network and managing partner at the Illinois Bone and Joint Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Village President Charlot and Mayor Tack.
Thanks for coming. As you know, I'm very new to this, so all of the accomplishments that I'm going to refer to are the result of other people's work, not mine, but I'll take credit for them. As far as city finances go, I walked into a pretty good situation. City of Lake Forest finances are in great shape. We once again have a balanced budget for 2024. We have maintained our AAA bond rating, which is critical, as most of you know. Just as an aside to why that's so important to us, we are in the midst of a large capital project, the athletic fields, which total price tag $16 million. We were able to borrow $12 million at 2.8% interest, if I'm not mistaken, which was being able to do projects like that and borrow at that rate make many things possible. Our financial reserves and all our funds are in great shape. We have a plan in place to address escalating pension costs. We're one of the few communities that are actually proactively addressing this. Many of you may know from your water bill that you get a pension or public safety pension fee every quarter, which I'm sure you're not thrilled about, but it's good because it allows us in real time to fund that obligation and for everybody to know that they're part of that, solving that problem. We've also prepaid or put down payments on our pension obligations so that we are very well funded relative to other communities. Capital investments, we have $32 million in capital projects budgeted for this year, which again reflects our solid financial footing. As part of how we fund that, we've received $7.5 million of grants over the last 5 years that has been applied to that as well. So in summary, I think we're in great shape moving forward, and don't see any storm clouds on the horizon in the short to intermediate term.
I will answer that question in multiple ways that are basically telling a story about our community. Lake Bluff is the most desirable community to live in. It's the best place to raise kids, literally. And the different facts are showing that, are buttressing that story. We made number 54 nationwide for our beach. No, notwithstanding the fact that we destroyed South Beach in the last 6 months. It's a very desirable community. The financial figures are showing that, real estate figures are showing that. Also, I would like to point out the background to that writing that is from artist Jeff McMahon, who lives in Lake Forest. Jeff didn't allow for that picture, but it shows the spirit of our community. We are now the third lowest real estate tax after the high school levy. We used to be the second lowest real estate tax district. The village receives 9% of your taxes. 9% represents roads, infrastructure, police, fire department, garbage, recycling. It really represents a very effective management of our village. We really maximize our tax dollars. We really are a lean delivery to what residents expect us most. It also represents, we also have a very slim, slim inventory of real estate. So today we have 22 houses for sale, typically from Brad Anderson. We have typically about 90 to 110 houses on the market. We only have 22 houses for sale. We have other real estate follows the same trend. The vacancy rate at the light industrial park is 3.1%. The retail property vacancy is below 1%. The flex property vacancy, we have to look at that too, is 0.3%. So people are not moving away. People are enjoying our community. And I think this is a trend that has been there since the pandemic and is staying with us today. It actually reflects our decision from banning gas leaf blowers during the summer for people to be able to work from home. As a bottom line, all facets of our real estate are very strong, and our finances.
Before I get to that, I can't let Regis outdo me. In Lake Forest, we have the lowest property tax rate in Lake County. So, anyway, capital improvement. As I mentioned before, we have $32 million of budgeted capital investments on the books. Our biggest project is the Deer Path Community Park project, which is the new 9.6-acre athletic fields behind the intermediate school. I was just out there yesterday. It's really quite amazing. All of the grading is finished. The subsurface infrastructure is in. It's really remarkable, and it's really big. I have to say, I hadn't been back there, since they started, and it's big. That being said, the bad news is that the stone trucks start arriving next week. And so there will be 100 stone trucks per day for approximately a month. So do anticipate a little bit of disruption in the usually smooth traffic down Deer Path. But we will do our best to mitigate that effect. Other projects we have going on is the Forest Park Bluff stabilization. Those of you who live in Lake Forest are familiar with the fact that about 10 years ago, the South Bluff slid, and we had to reconstruct that. And then about 6 years ago, the North Bluff slid, and we had to reconstruct that. And so what was left is the Middle Bluff, which was sliding. So we are now in the middle of a very extensive project that will start in September and is projected to be finished by April 15th. So it shouldn't disrupt the beach season too much for next year or the end of this year. Other really interesting projects, we're doing a storm sewer on Awani Road, water main repairs in Sir William Lane, and we are starting our street repairs. 3.1 miles of roads will be rebuilt or repaired this year.
So from a capital improvement, we have a normal year-to-year steady investment in all of our assets. This year, we'll invest about $1 million in roads, about $300,000 in water systems, about $300,000 in sanitary sewers from a normal maintenance standpoint. Our focus has been our stormwater management in town. We have had a few issues with our viaduct. We are creating a new infrastructure needed for our community today. It's a new stormwater deep tunnel starting from West Scranton, that is the viaduct, heading east to Sheridan Road, heading north to North Avenue, and heading east to the lake, to Lillandale and the lake. This will be a very, very large pipe that will allow us to basically drain North and East Terrace and East Lake Bluff. We have quite a few issues, and that has been the subject of many, many conversations for the past 3 years actively, and studies and so on. Building this deep tunnel will cost about $20 million. It's the largest investment in our community. $10 million is from a new stormwater utility fee. Every resident will see about a $200 fee on their water bill per year. About $3 million comes from the county. About $1 million comes from the feds, and the last 6 to 7 million come from IDOT, and we're still working on that part, and we have a soft commitment from IDOT to actually get this done. We're still very much expecting that to come our way. When we will have this foundation infrastructure, we will be able to have straw pipes basically drying up the rest of Lake Bluff, and I'm very excited about that. Also to note that that new stormwater utility fee will start on July 1st for us. Also, you might have noticed that our beach has been having some repairs. A thing that had been pending for Lake Bluff was a sanitary system upgrade. We have had a few instances where the sanitary system failed in Lake Bluff, and we had a lot of water going to the lake, and it happens typically every 2 years, somewhere there. We have NSWRD now building a reservoir on the beach. That will be 1 million gallons. This is where Lake Bluff Yacht Club sits, if you know South Beach in Lake Bluff. There is a 1 million gallon reservoir being built. It will be complete May 2024. We will have a redo of the South Beach for appearance. It will be great for the community, I believe.
Those of you who've been paying attention have noticed that there's been some increased vitality in the central business district, mostly driven by new restaurants. The obvious newcomers are Sophia and La Colonial, two fairly high-end restaurants. The really good news on that front is that both of those seem to be doing extremely well. From what I understand, they're well ahead of their projections for business. The same is true with Hometown Coffee and Juice, which within 1 month was meeting the volume of their flagship location. So Lake Forest seems to be a very viable site for that type of business. And there's quite a bit of interest and investment, so the challenge now becomes the infrastructure to bring those businesses into town. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the next section. Other development that's happening in town, obviously at Lake Forest Hospital, there's quite a lot going on outside of just the provision of health care and the volume that I think has been somewhat unanticipated. They're in the midst of a parking lot construction, which, as I understand it, should be finished in spring of 2024. To follow that, there will be construction of 2 new pavilions at the hospital. So for the foreseeable future, there'll be quite a bit of building and development there. In terms of real estate, the volumes have shrunk a little bit, but there has been real estate development in Lake Forest. We have 41 new single-family homes that have been built, and approximately 60 multifamily units have been added to our housing stock. Recently, the Central Business District Working Group put together a fairly high-level plan for envisioning the future development of the Central Business District in Lake Forest. This is part of the tradition we have in Lake Forest of looking 10 years down the road at what is likely to happen rather than looking at what's right in front of us. As I mentioned, with the recent interest in the business district from restaurants and other businesses, there is a need to encourage redevelopment of obsolete properties, underpurposed properties, and this may involve demolition of some, repurposing of others, and upgrading of some. And there are some obvious examples of businesses that are just less, let's say, active than they used to be. Banks are the sort of obvious. When we used to discuss how there were too many banks, now we discuss how all the banks are downsizing and moving. But that, creates an opportunity, certainly. The comprehensive plan that we put forward will come to the City Council, I believe, in the middle of July. It isn't a specific plan for development. It is more conceptual than anything else. It's designed to respect the history and the character of the Central Business District while allowing the Central Business District to sort of move into the modern era and be appealing to new businesses. And it's a way of encouraging developers to want to do projects in Lake Forest and understand coming into it what types of expectations they will have so that when they come in, they present projects that are highly likely to be successful. Much of this plan focuses on what we call the inner ring, which is the area immediately surrounding Market Square. It's fairly well understood that Market Square is relatively untouchable in terms of its facade and exterior character. However, the area immediately surrounding it, although influenced by that, isn't really defined by that. And so this plan looks at particularly areas, and if you just to think about where this might be, Bank Lane, which right out here, pretty much runs right through the center of what we're referring to as the inner ring. And in taking surveys of that area, we identified that as the area that is most likely to undergo development in the next few years. And we want to encourage it to be something that brings people into the Central Business District, that makes it more pedestrian friendly, that doesn't mirror Market Square but reflects the character of that. So I think there's a lot of opportunities there, and we will have many discussions about that going forward. Regis?
We have had a little bit of activity downtown Lake Bluff regarding our businesses. On Block 1, that would be where the brewery is, for example. We have what used to be B Market is now Hansa for a fine coffee place. If you need coffee and a place to eat, perfect. I'm there all the time. Also on Block 2, what used to be Bank is now Half and Half Pizza and a BYOB place. We just approved that liquor license. Block 3 is also very interesting. While it looks a little bit dormant, we actually have quite a lot of discussion. This is where the old PNC Bank is. We have been willing to get this space to move forward. And so what we have today is basically renewed attention from a local developers, I should say, or an Italian restaurator. And that would be from last Wednesday night at our zoning board, Bruno Abate from Tocco in Winnetka is very interested to open a Italian restaurant in Lake Bluff. That would be awesome. Just to bring the attention to Lake Bluff, to bring the activity in Lake Bluff. This is a part of town we are really willing to develop, the north side of Scranton Avenue. The business park also is expanding with a self-storage facility with different offerings. From a town standpoint, it is time for us for a revised comprehensive plan, land use plan. This is important to us. This is how we actually get to diversify the finances of a village. We're extremely well diversified. I actually skipped over that slide. It actually provides us a lot of financial stability to know that our finances are for multiple fronts, and we're actually very stable, and we're very stable during the pandemic. Again, our real estate inventory is very low, good or bad. People like Lake Bluff. And last, we also get a lot of questions about Stonebridge. From my standpoint, we do not have activity, we do not have movement there. It's very much, we don't have an active development today happening.
What's ahead for the summer? Numerous events scheduled in Lake Forest. Obviously, the festival and fireworks, July 4th. We have Lake Forest Day, August 2nd. We have the Summer Outdoor Concert Series, which is in Market Square on Thursdays and occasionally in other parks around the city. We have a Lake Forest Music Festival scheduled for August 19th. We are putting out a community-wide survey in anticipation of moving forward on discussions of the comprehensive plan. This survey you will be able to complete either by phone, online, or on paper if you choose. Obviously, we are very interested in getting everybody in town's perspectives on what they would like to see, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, so that as we consider development going forward, we can address those issues.
Okay. North Shore Life, Lake Bluff style. We had 32 events last year around downtown. It is basically the way of being in Lake Bluff. That is, we enjoy the summer, we enjoy life in and meeting each others and being together during the summer. Specifically, we have our farmers market, 7:30 a.m. on Fridays, very well attended. We have this weekend the Lake Bluff History Museum Auto Show. It's always fun. It's on Scranton Avenue. It's very nice to take a walk, amazing cars. We will have, of course, the Foodstock Music Festival following the next day. We have a block party on July 1st with the Lake Bluff Brewing Company. Of course, followed by 4th of July in Lake Bluff. So imagine a 6,000 people community welcoming about 25, 30, 40,000 people. I never know. I think we'll be back to pre-pandemic time, I hope. That would be fun. So the 4th of July parade will be 9 a.m. for the children's parade and 10 a.m. for the normal floats. Please come, this is fun. Of course, we now have also our Bluffinia concerts starting after July 4th on July 9, and so on. Noteworthy also is the Criterium, the Lake Bluff Criterium bike race. That puts Lake Bluff on a national stage for hosting a race. This is absolutely awesome. I grew up with having friends of mine racing bikes, having these type of races around where I lived. It's an awesome event. It's fun. If you follow that link, you will have a description of a race, if you can remember, or take a picture of that link.
Wonderful. And I would tell you that for those of you who have not put your hats in the ring for the parades yet, Sue Casanda back there, Sue, raise your hand. Sue Casanda is putting together the parade for Lake Bluff. And Tom Marks, where are you? Tom Marks, Lake Forest Day, talk to this man, because what we want to do is reclaim our holidays. And I can tell you that as the person who stands at the microphone for the Lake Bluff Parade, there is nothing more wonderful than seeing our communities parade by and being able to celebrate all of you. And know this, that if you are in the parade, well, those who have been in the parade know, you can give an introduction, a narration, something that you would like stated to the public. And we're happy to do it. We put together a whole script for it so that we promote you as you go through, and everything is video recorded, both parades. So know that that's going to happen. But what I wanted to do now was pull up, there were 2 questions. Anybody else have a question that they would like to send up? But I think Stonebridge was covered, right? Okay. Here's a question that I have, and this is from a store owner who says, we have seen a huge increase in the use of bicycles, riding of bicycles, and motorized bicycles and scooters in the downtown. It's an accident waiting to happen. What can we do? This is something that there are a few of us who've been talking about, and we talked about a public information campaign. I know that that's something that would be very important as we go through this because the kids are not really paying attention. And I know that a story was brought to me the other day about an adult who was walking down the street who saw two adults and a young child that was theirs riding towards them on the street, and the pedestrian was chastised for not getting out of the way for the young child who was riding something. So at any rate, this is the kind of thing that we don't want to have any sort of hassle on the roads, but if you don't mind both addressing this and just telling us what your thoughts are, putting you on the spot, that'd be great.
If it makes you feel any better, we've already had this conversation at the city level. It's something that I've personally noticed since I've sort of been transitioning out of my surgical practice. I've had a little more time to sit at a coffee shop in town. And I have to say that I've been very impressed by sort of the volume of scooter traffic on the sidewalks. And it comes with a little bit of bicycle traffic as well, and I totally understand the concern about it. I have the concern myself. I think the starting point for us as a city is really what Joanna mentioned. It's an educational campaign to get to parents to make them start to pay attention to it. You know, an educational campaign for kids is a little more challenging. I think it's not a bad idea if we consider taking it into the junior high, because I think that's the age group that particularly does this. I think there has to be some discussion about you know, the liability that occurs for parents when their kids are riding motorized vehicles on sidewalks, because as an orthopedic surgeon who spent 32 years fixing people's broken hips, I can tell you that, you know, this type of thing is likely to happen and will be a problem. That being said, as of now, the good news is the statistics that we have from the police and fire departments don't really show any evidence of personal injury related to this. It doesn't mean it won't happen, it just means so far it has not. So this is a good time to get out in front of it before it does. You know, getting into things like ordinances gets to be very difficult because then you have to enforce those, and it really has the potential to create a lot of animosity in the community, and it's also not really practical for our police staff to enforce those sorts of things. We also get into issues of signage and sign pollution, which I know nobody in Lake Forest is in favor of.
We'll take that in note from an education standpoint. Lake Bluff is a bicycle community, and people riding their bicycles and whatever else with two wheels community. Drew and I have already been sensitive to people racing their scooters on center, basically trying to pass cars. And so we have had notions of that. So we're already very much aware of that, and we have speed measurements apparatus. We have a 25-mile limit in Lake Bluff. But we don't have the amount of sidewalks you guys have, so it's actually probably easier for us. But we will do something about that again.
That's great. So it sounds like public information is the way to go, to just make sure that that gets out to the parents and also to the people riding the scooters and the bikes. So 3 more questions. This one is directed to Lake Bluff, but maybe we could have both communities answer it. This is regarding leaf blowers. What is the status of gas leaf blowers in Lake Bluff?
Thank you. So leaf blowers, gas leaf blowers are banned from May 15 to September 30. It is the result of a 2-year study from 9 communities, and we got that result in January, and we acted up on the result of that study. That was actually following more concerns from trustees and village president before that. And the most comment I've received in the last 2 years as a village president was half the comments I received were about noise in Lake Bluff. okay? 4 square mile community, 6,500 people working from home 80% of the time, trying to have a Zoom call, 2 or 3 leaf blowers, it's very disruptive. So from May 15 to September 30, no gas leaf blowers. You can have an electric leaf blower. And the reasoning being that the pitch of those electric engines is actually getting less through walls. And so people are having more of a convenient time having conversations on the phone. In 2 years from now, we will reassess. You might have noticed in Lake Bluff, this is a much quieter community, and we get compliments for that. 2 years from now, we'll get to reassess.
This issue has come up for at least 8 years. It came up when I was on city council, and I'm going to make a point of talking to you folks. I realize that I haven't looked at you all morning for whatever reason. So we have a little bit of a different situation in Lake Forest than in Lake Bluff. The size of properties tends to be quite a bit larger, and the demands on lawn care are different. Now, we may have discussions about this at City Council, so what I'm going to tell you is my own viewpoint of it. And when I was actually running for mayor, this question came up, and I'm just going to say the same thing I said then. I'm not a big fan of ordinances, apologies, on this matter. I think that technology will solve this problem. It is solving the problem. Electric leaf blowers 8 years ago were completely ineffective. I now have one, and for what I use it for, it's terrific, but the duration of use is 30 to 40 minutes. And even for a half-acre lot, it's not practical to try and clear that lot with electric leaf blowers. And there are many lots much larger than mine, of course, in Lake Forest, and I think it would be impractical for them or for the landscape services to be sort of forced into that in our community. That being said, I think that transition will happen over time for a lot of reasons. I mean, it's actually good for the landscape workers as well to have less noise, but I think time and technology will take care of that problem.
Okay, this one is for Mayor Tack, and it is, what were the reasons for the installation of artificial surface at the Lake Forest Rec and the long-term benefits?
Sure. I'm probably the wrong person to ask the question because I wasn't part of the conversation at the time, but I mean, I've obviously become familiar with it. And the argument for artificial turf is simply this. Our athletic fields really were in terrible shape. All of them are located in floodplains. For early season sports, we had frequent cancellations. It made participating in certain types of leagues impossible. And quite honestly, it is a development that is occurring in most communities like ours. In order to have vibrant youth athletic programs, you have to have fields that are predictably usable and of high quality. So I think that was really the driving force behind it, was to enhance the Parks and Rec programs. It's, you know, the economics of it have been pretty well worked out. It's certainly not a moneymaker, and the way we've structured it, we don't believe that it will be a money loser. We believe that it will be self-sustaining over time. The environmental impacts of it have been studied very extensively, and the design that was settled on actually incorporated, as I understand it, approximately $3 million of infrastructure that was specifically designed to address drainage issues and environmental issues. So I think what we have, you can actually make an argument that at worst it's environmentally neutral, and at best it actually might be better than trying to provide the type of maintenance required for natural turf fields in the locations that we have them. So I hope that answers that question.
Thank you. Now moving to, this is an interesting question. Lake Bluff residents can use the Lake Forest beach, but Lake Forest residents need to pay $50 to use the Lake Bluff community pool. That's interesting. How to make full reciprocity between Lake Forest, Lake Bluff, and is that possible?
Okay. Well, one thing I'll tell you about, when I first moved here, I moved to Lake Bluff, and my children were very small, and their first swimming lessons were at the Lake Bluff pool. Lake Bluff pool is colder than Lake Michigan, just so you know, in the springtime. So you might want to rethink that $50. But this has been a conversation as long as I've been here. You know, how do we, these two communities interact in terms of these resources that they have? And that issue hasn't been solved in 30 years. I would, be lying to you if I told you that I have the solution to that, and what the economics would need to be for us to have complete reciprocity of these assets. I don't know. It's maybe Regis has a better idea because I don't know the solution to it. I'll be honest with you.
So it would be hard for me to answer this question because the Lake Bluff Park District is a different government from the village of Lake Bluff. We do not manage a pool and beach, and now it would be great for reciprocity for the beach or beach resources. It would be great. If something goes for maybe Deer Path as a golf course, and I will stay on that. and our pool is great, by the way.
Yeah, but it's cold.
Love it, love it. Okay, now we're moving to the business district. This is Lake Forest Central Business District. Some business owners and property owners take great care with their storefronts and curb appeal. Has the city considered communicating landscaping and curb appeal expectations so that the entire business district has a beautiful flow consistent with our community vision? And is this something the chamber can help communicate with local businesses? We take direction, I'll answer that part of the question, and we do take direction and take information from both our business members and also the municipalities, because we would love to keep everybody in communication about a variety of topics. So I will now refer to Mayor Tack.
The closest thing I know to a serious discussion of this, I think we had a document that was created a few years ago, the Deer Path Road Beautification Committee, was that what it was? And that project was chaired by Prue Beidler. And it looked at issues about how to beautify that streetscape. And although it addressed Deer Path specifically, I think the concepts applied to the other locations. And there's a lot of challenges involved with storefront beautification. There's not a lot of infrastructural work you can do because everything's right up against the sidewalk and the road, so there's not a lot of space to put built-in planters or even put planters, because then it gets in the way of the pedestrian right-of-way, et cetera. So it really is one of those things that I think it's an issue of encouraging business owners to just take great pride in the appearance of their businesses, and I think most of our businesses do a very good job of that. I don't know that consistency is required to put out flowers at the right time of year and take care of them, et cetera. But beyond that, I don't know that that's something that the city can mandate. That first off, defining what is an attractive storefront, I think, is not necessarily for us to do. I think it's for business owners to do.
From Lake Forest, Lake Bluff, we have a multi-year plan to beautify Block 2 and Block 1. That would be Scranton Avenue and basically where the brewery is, Block 1. Redoing our spaces, putting lights, festoon lighting. Planters and public spaces are addressed by our garden club in Lake Bluff. We've helped with the village. It is an important space for us. It is an important space where people meet, where we want that to be, I want that to be vibrant, I want that to be happy, and I want that to be beautiful. And so, again, it reflects our community.
So on the theme of vitality and vibrancy in the downtowns, be sure to go to the calendar. You can go to the Chamber's calendar, but also both municipalities' calendars, all the events that are taking place. both the mayor and the village president address some of the things that are happening, whether they're block parties and special events like that, to the concerts that take place constantly, and other things that are going on. The farmers market in Lake Bluff too is amazing this year if you haven't been on a Friday morning, so you must. And then the events that the Lake Bluff History Museum is putting on. And I received a note, the birthday bash, 125 years, the Lake Forest Library Family Fest, and that's taking place on Saturday, July 8th from 1 to 3. The Lake Bluff Library has been doing amazing things as well, just all sorts of activities. And I wanted to finally just end it with one more thing that I want you to have on your radar, and that is that sidewalk sale this year will not necessarily be on the sidewalk. We do this every year. We are in charge of the sidewalk sale and push it out there for all of you who have storefronts. This year we're expanding it. We're calling it Summer Sales Celebration. And that means that even if you don't have a storefront and a sidewalk, you can share with us what your special is, and we will share it with the public so that we can bring customers and clients and promotion to all of you. So that is going to launch on the last Wednesday in July, which is the 26th of July, and it's going to go all the way to Lake Forest Day, Mr. Tom Marks. So we're going to go for 1 week and end it on Lake Forest Day. But that will give storefronts the opportunity to pull things out in the street, and the rest of you who have services and have products that don't have a storefront can let us know. We'll put it out there and share it with the public. Everyone, I would like to, first of all, thank you so much for coming today, but a round of applause for our two speakers today. Thank you so much. Be well, be happy, and let's all support each other and go have fun. Thank you.